What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the One by One podcast. I'm your host, Obi Omegano. This is a show where I sit down with high-level athletes, businessmen, high-level performers. We talk about the systems, the mindsets, the habits that keep them grounded, whether that's in competition, in business, whatever it is. I'm sitting here joined today with Emmy Award winner, songwriter, performer, Jabee. What's going on, baby?
What's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here, man. Like we said, it's been a minute trying to get in here with you. So,
yeah. Good to have you, man. I've been, like you said, I've been trying to make this happen for a long time, man. First off, Black History Month. That's where we at, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about the hat, man, because I always see you in that hat. Obviously, you know, I rock the one hat. I always see you with the X hat, man.
You know, Malcolm X, obviously polarizing, but he's my favorite figure in not just Black history but American history. Not just because of what he did, but whenever he changed his life, how dedicated he was to living right, and he reminds me of like the everyday Black person who is trying to figure it out, and then when we do figure it out, we all in, and he never strayed away from that path, and he just kept it real, and he really showed Black people and Black men that it's okay to be Black, and we don't have to look to anything else to define our success. We don't have to look to anybody else to define, who we are. We can look within, and we don't need nothing from nobody. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we need is within our own community, and he was just, he was just solid, and so, I've read his book probably 7-8 times, and
Wow.
He's just an important figure to me. His philosophy on even his faith, I'm not even Muslim, but even his firmness in his faith was just a legit picture to me of how I need to be with my faith. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, I think about, and then how he went out. You know what I'm saying? How he got taken out. He got taken out by his own people. You know what I'm saying? And and if you think about, you look at Black people in America, that's a common, story that, we get taken. You look at Nipsey, you look at Pac, you look at, all these prominent Black people, I'm just talking about, just popular culture now, but it's the same thing, you know what I mean? And so, and if you kind of look back on what he was dealing with before he was murdered, he was dealing with, hatred, jealousy, you know what I'm saying? People thinking that he was trying to take over and be the man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He was just trying to, be a voice for his people and, help to show his people that, there's a different way about, approaching our liberation. And so, so he's my favorite, man. And I love that. I love that it's a statement no matter wherever I go.
Facts. And not to be taken the wrong way, man. And we've been trying to sit down for a long time. And I see you, I followed your IG, followed the things that you're doing for a very long time. I see a lot of that in you. Why is that?
That's just how, how I was raised. How, I remember even just being little in like elementary when my parents were still together. We had pictures of Malcolm X in our house like he was a part of the family. You know what I'm
Really?
saying? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's, it's always been a part of me, and it's always been something that, has been poured into me as well. And so, and then not just that, but I'm a Black man, you know, in a red state in America, and um, and I know what I'm up against. You know what I'm saying? And I know that that it's important for me to understand, my history. It's important for me to understand how to deal with the things that I'm gonna, whether I'm coming in conflict with, or whether I'm just trying to address it, or whether I'm trying to fight injustice. If you can look to people like Malcolm X, and how they deal with things, and what their philosophy was on peace, what their philosophy was on black people in America, trying to you know um, establish a real liberation, but also establish a life. When I say life, I guess I mean like um, just the dream that we all have as Americans, and what that looks like for me as a black man who has black children, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And it's because of people like Malcolm X that I at least have some reference, on how to do it. You know what I'm saying?
What is when I look at your work, man, I'm a fan from, like I said, from the outside, man. And it seems like you're I could be completely wrong. It seems like you're a very mission driven person. Do you have a mission? When I say that, I mean, as far as like the music you've done, all the performance things you do, all the speaking you're doing, what would you say is your mission?
Oh man, that's a really good question because, I think with every, just like with every, organization or business, there's always a mission. But I think my mission, is, no matter what I'm doing, if it's business, if it's music, if it's art, if it's community, my first mission is to always fight injustice. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Um, my mission is to look out, for the people around me, treat the people around me right, um, and and then do what I can to put on and open up doors and create opportunities for people that come behind me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Let's talk about the Emmy, man.
yeah.
Let's bring us before, during, and after. How did that even start? What did you get an Emmy for? How did it come about? Talk to us about that.
So I'm trying to think of what came first because I got the first one. I want to
Oh, you
say
got multiple.
I got three.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
Oh, my fault.
I got the first one for a commercial I did. I want to say 2015, maybe.
Okay, so you got three in the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so,
Not bad percentage, man.
so I got booked for this commercial for the Oklahoma Science Museum, and it wasn't even really me. It was the production team, just like this. Like, we got them over there, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like everything goes into it. All I did was show up.
yeah.
I feel like, I as far as the writing though, they told me what they wanted it to be about, and I just wrote, a spoken word piece based on
But don't be in here downgrading the success though. Don't be down, because anybody that achieves anything great came with people.
no doubt,
You know
no
what I'm
doubt.
saying? So
Yeah, so
it takes a group. So
yeah.
don't downgrade it. I know now.
Yeah, so I wrote it, and then we shot a great spot, and I just performed it, and I didn't know nothing about nothing at that point. I think the only other work I did was I did a commercial for Kevin Durant for Nike or something like that, and um so from that I did that commercial, and then we won that Emmy, and I remember, it was like I took that mug everywhere I went.
What?
I they were like, yo, come, we about to go eat
Hold
at
on, let me
IHOP.
grab my.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna go eat at IHOP. I'm like, I'm on my way. Me and the Emmy on our way. You know, so I took it everywhere I went, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just, you know, it's just cool to see. And I looked at like, you know, one day I ain't gonna be here, but like, you know, whenever they reading my accomplishments and the things I did, you know, that'll be included. And everybody can't say that. You know what I'm saying? And so then I won the second one for a documentary that I was a part of. The documentary was like based on like, you know, a little bit about me, a little bit about an album, and you know the production got a documentary, so it wasn't like my music, but the documentary I was in, we won an Emmy for that. And then just the last one I won was 2024, 2025, and we did actually two spots for the OU women's basketball team. And I remember whenever we were working on them, the director was like, I think we might get an Emmy with this one, you know. And so I was like, bet, let's get one, you know. And so yeah, I'll never forget it. Actually got to go to that award ceremony, and it was just really cool to actually, you know, be there at that time and, you know, go and, you know, pick it up myself. The other one I had it got delivered to me, but yeah, you know, and just doing, you know, that film work, you know, I've done, I did, like I said, the Kevin Durant shoe commercial. I've done like, I think 2 or 3 Steph Curry commercials where I did the voiceover for his shoes.
You're speaking on the commercial?
Yeah, for Steph Curry.
Word too.
And I'm gonna tell you a story. I haven't told the story before to anybody, so I'm gonna tell it to you.
Let me hear it.
So the agency who was doing the ad for Under Armour, they hit me up and they were like, yo, we got this, you know, we're doing this commercial for Steph's new shoe. You know, we got a rapper that did the voiceover already, but it's not hype. And I had just did a Thunder commercial for them. So I did a Thunder commercial and they liked the Thunder commercial. And so he was like, you know, we played your commercial for the team and they liked your voice. And so we want you to, instead of using this rapper's voice, we're going to use your voice. And I'm like, all right, bet, you know. And so I go, well, is there a script? They're like, yeah, we already got the script written. All I got to do is read it, record it, and send it back to us. And I said, well, send me the recording, and then I'll just learn it and I'll read it. You know, I'll record it and send it back to you. And so they sent me the reference of the rapper who I was replacing, and you'll never believe who it was. Like, I remember listening on my phone, and I was like, you know, this voice sounds so familiar. And so I'm like, ain't no way. So I text the dude, I said, man, is this who I think it is? And he was like, who do you think it is? And I said, this sounds like Nas, bro.
No way.
He was like, yeah, it's Nas.
No way.
Yes, bro.
No way.
Yes. And so they used yes, bro. They used my voice instead of Nas's verse for the Steph Curry shoe. Then I got called back again, and I haven't told this story either. I told it to some kids like when I was speaking in schools and stuff, but I haven't told it like publicly. But I got called again. The very last one I did for Steph Curry's shoe, they didn't have the reference, but the person they were getting, there was like some issue with him doing I can't remember if he did the voiceover or if there was some issue around who they wanted, they had to change it last minute because it wouldn't work out. And so I'm like, who was it? You'll never guess who I replaced for that last Steph Curry shoe commercial.
I can't guess.
You're not gonna nobody ever guesses. Who is the most polarizing black person?
Oh
no, bigger figure. Voice. You know.
Oh.
Don't think music. Don't think music.
Okay. I'm thinking actors.
Not actor. God. Politician.
Barack Obama?
Yes, bro.
Barack Obama?
So I went, yes, bro. I kid you not, bro.
No way.
Yes, man. And so I'm just like,
And you said bigger, and I'm like, no way, but yeah, way. That's crazy.
for real. And so, I say all to say, man, like, one thing, from music, one thing has always led to another, and I'm just grateful even to be even thought of, in those times and like consider for that stuff. But yeah, the first one, and I've legit heard Nas's reference vocals, you know what I'm saying, for the commercial.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and they were going back and forth trying to get President Obama, and they couldn't get it, so they used me. Yeah,
He said, yeah, okay, that's a good.
yeah,
Listen, I think I watched I think he's Barack's on like Nat Geo or something like that, narrating some type of animal kingdom
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
He's got a nice, warming,
Yes,
inviting voice.
yeah. So I like I said, man, it was, it was just cool to do, man. I've never met, I've like, shook Steph Curry's hand like in passing whenever when we were in Oakland, Steve Kerr had us like back, after the game, met us all after the Julius Jones stuff. And so I got to meet Steph really quick, but I didn't get to say that was me on your commercial. you know.
Hey man, so what? Like, this is all fascinating, bro. Where did this start? How did you get? You started in music? How did you
Yeah.
get started?
I got started just like everybody else. I probably started writing raps and like rapping when I was elementary school. When I got to high school, started, recording with my homies, performing in talent shows. I mean, I remember me and my homeboy Chris getting booed off the stage in Langston.
Really?
Yeah, we was in high school driving to Langston to be in the Langston talent show. We might got, I think, I want to say maybe twice. They
Dang.
booed us off that mug, but and then open mics and stuff like that, and just continuing to do it, and it's been a long journey. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not new by any means. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And so but that's where it started, was just the same way everybody else gets started, and then just staying on the path, and never getting up, never giving up, continuing to try things, think outside the box, be creative, network, meet people. You know what I'm saying?
How important is the community work that you do, man?
Uh,
And what for our listeners, man? What is it? You look like the busiest man on ever. What is it? What are you doing with the communities? I mean, I know
uh,
a lot of east side, a lot on the east side.
yeah.
How important is that? And talk to us about that.
So business is I'm not sorry, community. Community is like the essence of everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's music, whatever. Like I'm always, for me, it's always important to consider the community, because the community is who embrace me, who gives me platform, you know what I'm saying?
Who made it
So,
happen?
and they're gonna hold me accountable
Mm-hmm.
if I do something goofy, you know what I'm saying? But and I feel like I'm responsible, for the things that happen around me. So so right now I have With Love OKC, which is a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to really uplift, and educate young Black and Brown artists in the city. Mainly focusing right now on the East Side. So, for instance, we do art shows. We have a Fear of a Black art show coming up. We do a lot of the murals you see on the East Side. We done.
Mm-hmm.
What else? And then also telling the story with the murals, like Pitts Park. We did the Captain Pitts mural, and we're able to tell the story of Captain Leroy Pitts, and how important he was, not just as an Oklahoman, not just as an on the East Side, but as a treasure to the United States, and as a veteran who sacrificed his life for his people. You know what I'm saying? Medal of Honor, Purple Star. First Black person. You know what I mean? Everett was from Oklahoma to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So telling those kind of stories using art, and then like I said, also education. We're working on a program right now with Millwood, and we're going to be teaching Millwood students how to create and paint their own murals. And then once they figure it out, we're going to incorporate them in the murals we do on the east side. Like we do a mural every year for our Juneteenth on the East Festival. We with love we do our big event is the Juneteenth on the East, and so do that every year. That we're coming up on year 6, and it we've had everybody from Maya to D Smoke to Big Crit,
Ooh, okay.
perform. So it's so really just putting on, for the East Side, using art and creativity, and then because those are the things that help save me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then also Live Free Oklahoma, which is a community violence intervention program, and our mission is to reduce gun violence in our community. We intervene with the people who are at the highest risk of being involved in gun violence. So those are the two organizations, and then outside of that, I'm always on the front lines to fight injustice too.
Mhm.
Just like with the Julius Jones coalition with Tremaine, who was just on death row. Whatever the case may be, if the community calls and I'm there.
Two things. What what kind of responsibility does that bear for you?
I think the responsibility, um,
Do you feel a sense of responsibility to your community, to the people here? Do you feel a sense of responsibility, or is it something that you're?
yeah, I don't even know. I would say it's more of a burden. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't I can't sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't those are the things I think about. If I see injustice, or if there's an issue, or if somebody's going through something, then like, it consumes, a lot of, my
Mental,
day,
yeah, your mental
and
capacity.
because of that, I'm always trying to be in the mix and figure out ways to help,
Mhm.
and so I would say, it's just more of a, maybe it's a passion, but I think it's really just a burden until things change. You know what I'm saying? Until we don't have to, worry about those things anymore.
Yeah. You made a comment that you said that's what saved you or helped you. I think you were
Hmm.
talking about music. And
Hmm.
where do you think you would be had you not taken that path?
Oh man, I don't even know, because there are several there are several scenarios and situations that I've been through, and where I feel like music was, if it weren't for music, I might be doing something else. Like for
Sure.
instance, you know, um, I had a brother who was killed when he was 16. Um, the day he was shot, I was in the studio. I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Um, I think about um music, take it my first time going to New York, and just realizing like, this is possible, and realizing that the world is bigger than just the block I grew up in, or the neighborhood, or the apartment complex. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And I think about, you know, times where I wanted to give up, and I was like, man, it's like just even like with music, wanting to give up, and ain't nobody listening. I'm trash. Nobody
Mhm.
don't like me. Everybody talk bad about me, and then I get a message from Chuck D saying, I'm listening to your music. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, right when I feel like nobody's listening and paying attention, somebody like Chuck D hits me up out the blue, who I didn't know, and says, you know. I've been listening to your music, and it's powerful.
That happens everywhere, right? In like people wanting to give up, people feeling like, man, I'm trash, man. in sports, you know that. In the
Hmm.
sports world, like that happens a lot. And to hear that happening in your field as well, what is the takeaway there? What is the takeaway for you?
I I think the takeaway for me is just, realizing sometimes it's, I gotta realize I'm not doing this for me, especially when it comes to music. I can't do it for me because the music that I listen to for a certain reason because it helps me and it got me through my day or got me through a rough time. And
Absolutely.
so and so so I gotta look at the music I put out and hope that it's doing for somebody what music did for me. And then also, you know there's always somebody listening. There's always somebody who is paying attention. There's all, you know what I mean. And we're so especially now, I feel like, but it's so easy to pay attention to like all the noise and all the negativity, and how much people don't like you, or how many bad things people have to say about you, that we miss those moments where people do like you and they are paying attention to you, or they do have something good to say about you. And so it just, for me, it's just, trying to remember those things and focus on that.
In the psych world, they talk about we have, what is it, 7 negative thoughts for every positive thought.
Hmm.
And so that's being able to follow the right signal and focus on what you need to focus on. I think that's what people struggle with, is being able to stay locked in and like, man, this there might be all this noise, but there is, if I can get one person to take something away from this,
Hmm.
that's the difference between saving a life, man.
Yeah,
And I
no
think,
doubt.
and I think that that's the position that you're in, especially
Yeah.
with the influence that you have.
Yeah, no doubt. And I agree. And that's even with the work I do with CVI, I work with people all the time who, some of them like, man, I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I'm trying to talk them into, being peaceful or not retaliating or changing their life. And they be like, man, I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Or something happened and they do something wild, they end up back locked up, or God forbid, end up gone,
Mm-hmm.
but still, I can't allow that to for me, I can allow that make me stop, because I have seen successes and I have seen people's life change for real. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I have seen people come out of those cycles of violence
Mm-hmm.
and become great, productive, people, family members, fathers, businessmen. And so, if nothing else, it's for sure worth it, because, for that person, and then for that person, think about people that they'll change and they'll affect based on their story and where they came from. So yeah,
Anybody
I
that's
agree.
going through that, man, do you have any words for them? Anybody that's struggling? I mean, you deal with a lot of people that are struggling mentally. I deal with a lot of people that are struggling mentally. Is there anything that you can say to them to help, that would help them in the time of need,
Man,
or anything that you try to push, not push, but you try to make people aware of?
yeah, I think, one of the main things is we can allow ourselves to give up, whether it's just a crash out, you know what I'm saying, or
Straight up.
whether it's, but but in essence, all of it means you just giving up. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And so, I really try to push that we can allow ourselves to give up, because that's what the enemy wants. That's what people want us to do. They want us to crash out and get locked up. They want us to crash out and kill ourselves. They want us to crash out and kill somebody. They want us to crash out and be out here on the streets.
They want to see that,
They
man.
want to see it.
Yeah.
There are so many people and things out there that are already pushing that negative energy to us, and so I try to push that and just remind people that it's important that you have a vision for your life. It's important that you find something that you can grab a hold to, that will help you see 2 years down the line, that will help you see 5 years down the line, that will help you see 10 years down the line, and that vision will help you get, once you get to that 2, then you got 3 more, you to that 5. Once you get to that 5, you got 5 more, you to that 10. And so, but it's just finding something that will kind of ground you and help guide that vision along the way. For me, it was music. For somebody else, it might be, sports. For somebody else, it might be family. For somebody, I don't know. But I feel like, we're all gifted with something, passions and giftings and talents and all these things. And it's gonna look different for everybody. But whatever it is, you do find it. Use that to keep yourself grounded and build the vision around that.
Yeah, man. So obviously, I'm big on community, one by one
Mm-hmm.
community, man. How important is the community that you're in helping us stay focused and stay out of those mindsets or those mind frames or those negative experiences? How important does the community play in the people you are around?
I think the community plays a big part. One way to put it is, I remember my homeboy, Free Joe told me, he was like, man, if you wanna know where you're gonna be in 5 years, look at the books you read and the people you around. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, he probably told me that when I was like 19. I was like, all right, man, you know what I'm saying?
you didn't pay no
But
attention.
but looking back, I was around him. I was around his brother. I was around, older homies who were really, working and doing something, positive. And so, and now looking back on it, I'm just grateful that, even though at the time I didn't understand it, but I was really around people, what I'm saying, who were positive and really trying to do positive stuff. And so I think, that's what, is important about community is that we have to surround ourselves in the community that wants to see us thrive and wants to see us succeed. And we also have to surround ourselves with the community that isn't using us. They aren't, trying to use us use us as a way to come up. And because when I say us, I mean Black people.
Sure.
Our community is vulnerable for so many reasons, and so I think that it's important that that community protects itself from those outside threats, and but also within that community we gotta look out for each other. We gotta take care of each other. We gotta treat each other right. And I think like I said before, surround yourself with people who want that. You know what I'm saying? Surround yourself with people who really see, something, better for themselves, or really trying to, come up and dig their way out of, some of these traps that we find ourselves in. And I think I think about like just some of the homies that I grew up with from the time I was, middle school, elementary. Some of them, dead in jail. A lot of them, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them, one of my homeboys was on death row. Now his sentence got commuted to life. And we grew up in the same neighborhood, same, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And so, and I'm here and he there. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that, but it's important that, we really try hard to surround ourselves with people who just want better. But then on the opposite end, we gotta look out for our homies that are, you know what I'm saying, incarcerated and housed and locked behind these walls too. You know what I'm saying? Because that could have easily been me.
We all one mistake, one bad situation.
That could have easily been me. I say every day, I'm just a hair away from the pen. I'm just a hair away from being on what's the thing on Facebook they be doing now, jailbirds. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not exempt. I know it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just one foot in, one foot out from being
battle.
there. It's a constant battle. And so, and because I know that, and I know how easy it is to get caught up in that, then it's important that, for all the people that I do know that are, dealing with, the justice system in that way, that we look out for them.
Man, I love the idea behind that, because I think of it the same way when we talk about from a sports perspective, right? So being a high level or an athlete, a high level athlete, like I think of it the same way, man. We got to look out for the people coming up,
Yeah.
but because we were there.
Yeah.
I was there. I'm this close from not being
Yep.
where you know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
And you're this close from being there.
Yep.
And I tell those guys the same thing. Like the way that sports, again, talent works, bro. It's like the guy who was NAI and the guy who's D1, they got the same talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn near, they all got the same
Yeah.
talent. The guy who made the NBA team and the guy who didn't, they got the same talent.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that. On my way to Tulsa, I was just listening to a podcast about homie who played for the Raptors,
Okay.
who got busted for the gambling thing.
Yeah.
Jonte something.
Yeah. There's a few of them, yep.
But him and his brother, pretty much had the same talent,
Mm-hmm.
same height, everything,
mhm.
and the only difference was his brother was before him. You know what I'm saying? They both made it to the NBA, but his brother was like, the standout, the star, but they was pretty much the same. You know what I'm saying? And now, one mistake and he looking at the pen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but it's so easy to like get caught up, especially whenever like you said, you there but you ain't there, or you almost there, but yeah, everybody it's the same.
Yeah, man. That's one of the biggest things that I see, and I try to make it a thing, like, and I tell all my guys, man, we're not talking down, looking down on nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And I try, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try to make it a point, like, I'm not gonna talk bad about none of these cats coming up, because it's just one, you're so close to being there or not being there, and I'm so close to being there and not being there.
And you know what it's like to try and get there too.
And I know what it's like, man.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like. And so, like, it's easy to come in and be a professional and be like, oh, they not really. Nah, bro. Like, you was just right there. I was, and so I try to make it like the guys that I'm with, the people that I'm with, man, make sure that we're not talking bad or talking down or looking down upon anybody, bro.
Yeah, it's the same.
We know where I'm no better than the next guy. I just might have did a little, or took a little bit more time, or whatever the case may be. So when people look up to NBA guys, to guys who played overseas or done, and they look like, man, how can I get? You keep going on.
And this the same. And what's crazy is the same of that. The same is true with music too. People look up to him for whatever reason, but for somebody like you who've been to the Olympics and played professionally and won championships and all that, like how far you are from how far you are from the top. So it's like you like, nah, bro, I still got so far to go. But then there's people coming behind you going, bro, like, tell me how to get what you got. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I get it. It's the same thing with music.
Yep, man. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's funny. I don't think it's a coincidence that we here on Black History Month.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't, man. I don't. What are your thoughts about Black History Month? This might be a little controversial, but what are your thoughts?
For me, every day is Black History.
Straight up. And that's why I asked. That's why.
Yeah, every day is Black History. My thoughts are this, because of the work I do, February ends up being the most busiest time of the month for me, because everybody want to wait till February and have you come speak, have you come perform, have you come show up. And then a lot of times they want you to just donate your time, you know what I'm saying? And you realize, like, this, if you're going to call me on Black History Month, then you realize the right thing to do is pay me for my time. You know what I'm saying? If we really celebrating Black History Month,
you can't call me to come and say
You know what I'm saying? and then, or it's like, come talk to our organization or our team, about, Black history or Black history in Oklahoma. And it's like, bro, like, why? Like, I appreciate
Thought,
the thought,
sentiment.
yes, so much, but you know, it shouldn't always be up to Black people to school you on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because if you think about it, um, you know, in school we're taught American history. And I remember my history books, it was books this thick, and it was filled with all these white dudes who, terrorized and brutalized Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm reading about these people who terrorized and brutalized Black people, I'm also told and taught that those people are my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so
A joke.
and so and then you got like three or four pages of Black in the history books, and it's like, y'all were slaves, y'all were in chains, MLK came, the end. You know what I'm saying? And that's, and so y'all have gone out of y'all's way to not only indoctrinate, you know, our country with this, like, this Western, like, European civilization, colonial settler idea. I don't know, all
I
those.
hear
It's
you.
like
Yep,
it's
yep,
like
yep.
a, what do you call those? When you take all the flavors in as Sonic and mix them up, a suicide.
Suicide.
This like suicide mix of
He said Sonic.
of history, and then just want to sprinkle a couple pages of Black, and then in Black history, call Black people to come teach it to you. You know what I'm saying? I just can't allow it to make it doesn't my mind don't have the capacity to understand that stuff sometimes, and so, like I said, I get called and booked and hit up all the time from organizations and companies and businesses, come teach our team about Black history, come through a talk to this and that. And it's like, okay, a really good way to celebrate Black history, and a really good way to incorporate, this into y'all's February, is if you're gonna have somebody Black come, then pay them for their time. Because if that same job or that same organization, that same group is gonna cost money to come train them on how to do a new program, or what I'm saying, they got a training, they gonna pay them.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Well, you know what I'm saying? But they want to wait till Black History Month and then hit the Black man up to come and teach them about Black history for free. I don't understand it. So, um, you know, and those aren't things I'm just saying now. Like,
speak on these
I
things.
speak
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anybody who, like, what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, I was supposed to do a program here this month, and I'm not doing it. And they were like, and it was my fault. I sent the paperwork back late, but they were like, well, we're not gonna be able to do it this month. Let's try and revisit it next year. Around, and I'm like, so you gonna wait a whole year
Yeah.
until Black History Month
To do it again.
You know what I'm saying? So we only acknowledge black people and Black voices in February. Is what you're saying?
Month of the year.
Is what you're saying? You know what I mean? We only make time for to incorporate Black people in February. So that, I mean, that's what I think. I think that it shouldn't always be on Black people to teach people about this stuff. They need to go and do the research themselves and learn some, because I had to. You know what I'm saying? If I relied on them,
you wouldn't know nothing.
I wouldn't know anything. You know what I'm saying? Why you think? Well, that's the reason why Black people, after they graduate high school and go to college, they're so resentful of their public school education, because so many things were left out and not taught. You know what I'm saying? Think about this. We live in Oklahoma. Um, there are
Bro.
two significant pieces of Black history, American history in Oklahoma. And to graduate high school, I had to graduate from Oklahoma history class. I know because I took it twice because I failed the first time. That's how I know. When I was in high school, you couldn't graduate unless you had a credit from Oklahoma history.
Uh-huh.
And
They didn't teach none of that stuff.
and so I remember it was a big fat red book. It talked all about the frontier. It talked all about all the Oklahoma stuff, natives, everything. Not one page on Black people. Not one page. And keep in mind, Oklahoma has the most Black towns out of all the states.
Really?
Yeah. The most Black towns, Oklahoma.
Really?
Oklahoma was supposed to be an all Black state. Yeah. And then also Oklahoma had one of the, if not the most thriving business community, in the 20s, which was
Facts.
Tulsa.
Facts. I knew.
And what happened? They literally the government came and blew it up. You know what I'm saying? One year I was reading the transcripts and the firsthand accounts, it messed me up about, you know what I'm saying? It took me a while to get up to get out of that, that feeling of sadness and hurt after reading those firsthand accounts from the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and then you move forward to 1958. And in August 1958, Clara Luper and 13 students in Oklahoma City led the first successful sit-in movement. Everybody knows about Greensboro and all these places, but that wasn't until 61, 62. You know what I'm saying? That was after, we'd already been doing it here,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and whenever they did the Cats sit-in, of course they did Cats and then also other places around the city. But whenever they successfully integrated Cats, then Cats wasn't just an Oklahoma store. It was stores. He had locations around the country that became integrated because of what we did here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So imagine, graduating high school, being forced to learn Oklahoma history to graduate, and then which I knew about. Miss Clara Luper because my aunt was one of the original sit-inners, but I only knew, I'd only heard rumors about Tulsa, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know how bad it was. So imagine, learning, that much, no, take that, let me start over. Imagine being someone who loves your state, loves your city, being proud of where you come from, always representing Oklahoma and screaming Oklahoma in everything you do, and finding out that, these are things that were kept from you. You know what I'm saying? These are things that, I could have been celebrating and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I just think that, it's important that we tell the truth. We teach real history in an honest way, because if we don't, we're going to have a bunch of, people who are resentful of the education system, and so, yeah.
I see you got Africa tatted on your mind right there, man. One of my friends asked me, and who, TJ, one of my mans asked me just yesterday. He was like, man, you gotta tell me. He's like, why do Africans not like Black Americans? Why do Africans not like Black Americans?
I used to ask my girlfriend that same question all the time.
And I sat there with him and I thought about it for a second, man. And I'm thinking about it.
I have a theory I want to share, but you go ahead.
No. You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, so I think about it, man, and being coming from Africa, and in my house it's Nigeria in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like it's complete African in my house. It's not until you go outside my house that you're in America, that you're in Oklahoma. And so coming here, man, my parents, they look and they're like, it's hard for them to grasp because America looks at black people as like they're poor.
Mm-hmm.
And where we come from, it's royalty.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're known. You know what I'm saying? They look at it, it's like royalty. And so it's like, now wait, what are y'all talking about here? And that's how they feel. It's like this is not the black that we're used to seeing. We never seen black people poor like this. Like this. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I say poor not in the sense of monetary, not money, but
like the bottom of the totem pole. Like, so that kind of aligns with, my theory, and just based on interactions I've had with, friends from Africa. And, but I was going to say, and then you can, help correct me if I'm wrong or, interject. But for me, if I felt like, black, the idea of black people is America. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's twofold. So to be black, in the context of like, ethnicity and things like that is only possible if your foundation is from America.
Okay.
And so because every other, continent, country, or every other country or let's just say continent on earth has been influenced so heavily by Europeans and by America, a lot of times where people outside of America are only fed what, they're, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's almost like you're getting you're getting
westernized. You get the westernized version of what it is.
Of black people.
Absolutely.
And so you don't, and so like in my mind, somebody who's from Nigeria, who's like legit from Nigeria, comes to Oklahoma, comes to America, they're not seeing, oh yeah, I'm black. They're saying, no, I'm Nigerian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think for black people, it comes off like, because when we like, yeah, you black. It's like, nah, we ain't. He's like, no, y'all are black. I'm African. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the messed up part about it is that, and that's why I don't say I'm African American. Yeah. I say I'm black.
I'm black, yeah.
Because for two reasons. I don't have any direct connection from anybody in Africa. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no family in Africa that's gonna claim me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There isn't one.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And then for me to be African American, or think about it like this, for me to be Native American, Mexican American, Asian American, right? The only different, and let's just say, and this is where I draw the line between black people and everybody else in America. And it's like this. You have Asian American, Native American, Mexican American, Hispanic American, whatever the case is, right? The difference between African American and those is that if you're Asian American, you have the last name of your people and where you come from. Mm-hmm. You can trace it.
Yes. Good point.
My last name is Nguyen. My last name is Tran. My last name, you know what I'm saying?
Good point. Yeah.
If you're Hispanic, Mexican American, your last name is Martinez. Yep. Your last, you know what I'm saying? Yep.
If
you're Hernandez. Yep. If you are Native American, your last name is Sleeper. Yeah. Your last name is Harjo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But every black person in America got a white last name. Either a name that they were given by somebody white who owned them, or a name they just took on because they didn't have
They
any.
didn't know their
They
name.
don't know their name. They don't have an identity, and so because of that, I can't say I'm African American. I don't have anything
Heard
to
you.
identify myself with Africa.
Heard you.
You know what I'm saying? So
No, and you're spot on, bro. Everything you said is spot on, and that's true, bro. It's like my parents, the
like you African American. Your last name is what?
Omegano.
See, you African. My ex girlfriend, her last name was African. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, and she's from America.
Yeah.
And she has family that she can go to
See,
and trace back to Nigeria.
I've never. If somebody, I'll never, and not because I'll say I'll never, not in like a derogatory. I've never done it. If somebody asks me, I've never said I'm African American.
Yeah.
I'm African. I was born in that.
Yeah. Oh, you was born in Africa. That's
Yeah,
right.
I was born
Oh yeah,
there.
you African.
Yeah, those words African and American ain't.
Nah, you African.
They say, where you from? Nigeria. That's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when I think about my parents, man, that's their biggest quarrel. Like my dad, man, to his core, he's just like, know who you are. Know where you came from, know who you are. And ever since I was a kid, I didn't even know what it meant when he was just like, this is who you are. You know what I mean? And now growing up, I understand it. He's like, those people don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And not that they don't know who they are. It's not even that. It's they have let somebody else tell them who they are. And that's his quarrel.
And that's why Malcolm X changed his name to X.
That's his quarrel. My dad's whole quarrel is like, those people, and he doesn't hate, he's just like, those people have let somebody else tell them who they are. And that's his whole thing, is like, you know who you are, be who you are. Don't be who they want you to be. Be who you are. And as I've gotten older, man, and I say that like, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more Nigerian.
Yeah.
I've gotten more Nigerian because I'm like my dad now. I'm like, man, this is like, know who you are. And if you don't know, then figure out who you are, because if you let somebody else tell you who you are, you'll never be who you are. And so that's kind of my whole thing, man, is just be you, like be, and I'm proudly who I am.
Yeah. And I think, that is, I would add on to that and not say, let somebody tell you, but the difference is that, for Black people in America, whenever this country started and we were brought over here, there was, you got to think, our minds weren't our own. Our bodies weren't our own.
Straight up.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like our kids weren't our own. They have done such a number on Black people that it is impossible for you to even have the capacity to understand what it would be like to know who you are. You can't.
And let me clarify, like, with saying that about my parents, it's not that it's the fault of the person himself.
Yeah.
It's just the whole the institutionalization of it all is like, it really eats at him, and it's starting to eat at me as well, man. And I'll just say this from my personal perspective. Growing up, there were people who really loved me and really took care of me, man. White people, right? And I love them to this day. But they were teaching me from what they know. They were teaching me what they know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now as I'm an adult, I'm like, oh no, that's not who I am. I'm forever grateful for them for showing me and teaching me, but they can only show and teach from what they know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you follow that, then you will become what they know.
Yeah, that reminds me, and you might remember this. That reminds me of the little dude who got killed, who died at the swimming pool in Edmond.
I remember that.
He was African.
Ah, okay. I remember that.
And I can't remember if he was Nigerian or what, but so many people were hitting me up, and they were like, yo, there's some injustice, like, because this is like around BLM and all that stuff. Whenever he died, and they were trying to say, there was some foul play, and these white kids, they weren't treating him right because he was the only Black kid there, And so, I never, people were trying to connect me to him and his family. And I feel like I had one conversation with either like his brother or somebody close to him, and and it could have, I'm sure a lot of it was just grieving, but they didn't really want that identity of like this, there's some injustice with, this black kid who died, at this house with all this, with all this stuff going on, and there might have been foul play. Is it because he was black and all them are white? Woo-de-woo. They didn't want that because they didn't even see them. He was like, I remember telling my friend who was telling me, will you meet with them? And I said, I don't think they, from what I can tell, they don't even see it like that.
Right.
They see like he's one of them to
Right,
in his
right.
and in their mind, that's they, he with them, so it don't even, what I mean, it's not even like that. You know what I'm saying? So I can't make his family, see something that ain't there. If he identifies more with them than he does with me, and people are just going, well, both of y'all are black, and I'm like, no, we both ain't black. I'm black. He's Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't it wasn't a bad thing or anything like that. But it just, what you said just reminded me of that, because a lot of times, just like I was saying before, we get indoctrinated by that idea, and they've done such a great job of controlling the narrative of black people. I was in Ireland, and I'll shut up and say I was in Ireland, and there was this at the hotel. There was this black girl working at the hotel, and she was obviously African. She lived in Ireland. I think she said her parents were from the Congo and somewhere else, but tall, beautiful black girl, and she was going to school to be a doctor. And so I asked her. I said, "Do you see yourself as like black, or do you see yourself as like African, or you see yourself as European from Northern Ireland?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm black." And I was like, "Where?" I said, "Have you ever been to America though? Like, that's where the black people are as in America." She's like, "No, I could not. I want to go, but I'm too scared." And I'm like, "What you scared of?" She was like, "Have you seen on TV? You ever watch Love and Hip Hop? You ever watch Baddies? You ever watch?" I'm scared to go, because I was like, "You should go to school." And she was like, "Nah, I can't do it. It's I don't want nobody to jump on me or do anything to me." And I'm just like, dang, we don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, bro.
Like, and she has no idea, like, she would just come over here and kill it and thrive because she's afraid, because of the narrative and the picture that is always being put out around the world of how black people are in America. And it's not true. It's that's not how we are.
I know, bro.
So
no, man, I'm glad I had you on here, man, to share, especially in this month at this time, bro. Because truth be told, like I said, I'm African. I mean that true to true, bro. And Nigerian, I don't know a lot of Black history. All the Black history I know, I've learned in the last 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
And I learned from my guys.
Yeah,
that's I sit down with them, and they'll put me on, like my man used to live in Deep Deuce.
Yeah,
he put me on all the heritage down in Deep Deuce. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's important for these things to be told, man, and for people to know and know what it is and what it's not, because the Western world does a poor job of letting people know.
And let's just be real, it's intentional. You know what I'm saying? So
well, yeah. Yeah, man. Jabee, dang, bro. I appreciate you for coming on here.
No, I appreciate you,
man,
bro. Yeah. This was fun, man. So
if I make that hat, you gonna rock one?
Come on, bro. You already know, man. Yes, man.
I'm gonna do it the same way. I'm gonna put the quote and all. I'm gonna do the same thing.
Let's do it.
Straight up.
Yeah.
All right.
Done deal.
Right. Yeah. Man, I appreciate you. Tell the people where they can find you, man. All the things that you're doing.
Yeah. So all the things, man. Of course, withloveokc.org, liveforoklahoma.com, Eastside Pizza House, Scramble. More music coming soon. You can catch me on. I think I'll go on tour in May. and I got a lot of things happening. Find me on social media at my name is Jabee.
Yep. Y'all heard it here first, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is Jabee, Emmy Award winner, songwriter, performer. Like I said, man, it's always love. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you guys next time.